All right, so this video is going to cover how to analyze the isometric drawings that was given to you in class. And we're going to then take those, the information that we find and go to Inventor and create the different isometrics that you see pictured here. This process will follow through for all of the isometrics that we're going to do in class. So we started one the other day. We started with number one the other day. I'm going to go back over it in this video. And then my suggestion to you is once we do the video with this part, I'll pause the video and then we'll come back and go to Inventor and work with the Inventor program. So the first thing is I wrote a note on the paper here, and the paper says each box has a value of 0.5. So that means each one of these boxes that make up a line of the sketch has a value of 0.5. So what we're going to do is get some dimensions here, get some places to start, so that when we go to Inventor, we'll have a good place to start. So first thing we'll look at is the baseline here of this number one. I'm calling this the baseline. This is going to be my length. I'll put an L right here for length, L-E-N. And that length is going to be in the number of boxes times the number of boxes times 0.5. So I count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I have 7 asterisk is the time symbol on the keyboard times 0.5. And that value should be 3.5. I'm going to box my answers. We need the height. H is height. And our height is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 boxes make up the height. And so that's going to be 5 asterisk 0.5 has a value of 2.5. We need the width. It's a W. So the width going this way is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we'll get 5 times 0.5 again, which is equal to 2.5. We need to know this line right here has 2 boxes. So I can write on this thing 2 times 0.5, which is 1. That'll be for this line right here. We also need to, this line right here is the same as this line. So this would be 2 times 0.5 as well, which is equal to 1. And then we want to get this little piece laid out, and then we'll come back and deal with that. So this is 3 boxes, so it'd be 3 times 0.5, which is 1.5. This line right here is 0.5. We don't need to do any math there. This line right here is 3 times 0.5, which is 1.5 again, not 15, 1.5. And let me make sure that I'm writing that properly. And this box right here is 0.5. And I think from here, we got enough to get started, and then we'll use the program to do the rest. I'm going to pause the video and come back and start with Inventor. All right, so we're gonna now move to Inventor, and we're going to start creating the isometric. First thing we want to do is we want to go to File, And we want to go to new. A little slow this morning. And once you go to new, make sure that English is picked. If you come in and this is collapsed, there's a little tab right next to um, this selection, and click on English. And then click on standard IPT inches. Okay, so we're going to start with a 2D sketch. You click this plus sign over here. And we want to use the XY plane. So to find the XY plane, you float your cursor through the planes that have shown up. You get XY, click it. And now your ribbon is going to change. You're going to get some drawing tools and some other modify options. Remember, this key area over here is your project browser. Whatever you do or create gets logged over here, and it can be modified. This area up here is your ribbon. So this is where you find all your tools to draw and sketch with and do some modifications as well. And then there is your view cube, which allows you to look at the object three-dimensionally. We're going to start with a line. And once you call up a command, it has a bluish hue color. It'll stay in that command until either you hit escape, which is a button on the top left of your keyboard, or you direct the computer to execute another command. So we want to go to line, and we have a coordinate system following our cursor now. The coordinate system is our X and Y because that's the X and Y plane that we selected. We're going to lock into the center. We're going to left click, and now you have a box following your cursor and the line that you're drawing. That's the input box for your dimension. And if you have all this written on the handout from the early part of the video, you know that this dimension should be 3.5. We press enter. Now this will happen. We're zoomed in pretty far. So if you click on the word front on the view cube, it acts as a zoom, and it'll zoom the image back into view. We want to go up from here and make sure that you're picking up that tracking. If you notice that black and red kind of T, that's called perpendicular. And on our handout, this line is 1. Press 1 and press enter. We're going to come back. Well, we're going to press enter here. It stops it from following our cursor when I press enter. I want to pick back up at the center because that's kind of how we laid out the dimensions. I'm going to click the center and go vertical. You should get another tracking symbol, and you get another dimension box that's blued out, and that dimension should be 2.5. Press enter. We're zoomed out of view, so we hit the word front. We'll zoom back into view. And we're going to go to our right. And this line should be 1. Press enter. And then we're going to pick up a tracking right here. And on the paper, we may not have spelled this one out, but if you notice, I'm picking up a little ghosting line. That's the computer saying I'm locking into that point. So I can left click here, and then I can left click here. And that is the sketch for the what we're going to call the front view. We're going to now go to finish sketch. Notice it's zoomed out of view. There's a gray corner highlighted on our view cube, the gray corner. If you click on it, it'll zoom back into view. We're going to go to extrude. Now you have to have a closed surface for it to extrude. The computer recognizes the closed surface and automatically it wants to extrude. Now I was waiting for us to put an input in. We have an input box here and we have an input section over here. That width, that's our width, and that distance should be 2.5. Press enter. Now to add or take anything away, you always have to create a sketch first. Remember on our object, there was a rectangle cut out here and a rectangle cut out here. We're going to start with this one first. So we're going to do a 2D sketch again. We're going to click this surface. And I want to rotate my view cube so that the word top reads from left to right. So there's some arrows up here. I click those arrows and now the word top reads from left to right. I'm going to come up here to project geometry. I'm going to click on this little symbol right here. And I'm going to select this surface. Now what that does is it's going to highlight the sketch of this surface. And now I can lock into the edge right here when I go to create that rectangular cutout. So we're going to look at the rectangle command. So I'm going to click on rectangle. I'm going to lock into this edge. I'm going to left click and open that rectangle up. So all I did was left click and started moving my cursor. And I have two input boxes. One is blue and one is white. The blue one is the active one. The white one is the inactive one. But if you hit your tab key, it'll go back and forth. So this first dimension we do have on our sheet. It's going to be 1.5. I hit the tab key on my keyboard. And this is going to be 0.5. And I press enter. Now we got to make sure that it's in its right location. So I'm going to hit escape. I'm going to go up here to dimensions. I'm going to click on dimensions. I'm going to click the line of the object here. And I'm going to click the line of the rectangle. I'm going to pull that dimension out. And that distance should be 1. Press enter. I'm going to go to finish sketch. I'm going to go back to extrude. This is going to be a cut this time. So I click on the sketch. I come over here to my directions. I want to go flipped. And that automatically makes it cut. There's a cut button right here. And then I click OK. I'm going to do the same thing again. So I'm going to do a 2D sketch. I'm going to click this surface. I'm going to project the geometry. I'm going to use a rectangle again. I'm going to lock into this edge. You see it change colors. Open that up. Now this is going to be pretty much the same. 1.5, hit the tab key, and this should be 0.5. Press enter. Now I want to dimension this, make sure that it's centered. So I'm going to click this line, pull that dimension up, and that should be 0.5. I hit finish sketch. I go to extrude again and do a flip and then click OK. But now I want to save this. So we'll call it ISO 1. We'll go to File, Save As. and call it ISO 1. Hit save. Now the next step is to lay this out. We're going to pause the video, and then we're going to come back and we're going to talk about how to do a layout. All right, so we've got our ISO number 1 completed. We're going to now talk about, we got it saved. Make sure you got it saved. We're now going to talk about how to put in a layout. And this is what you're going to be submitting to Canvas. So I'm going to go to File, New. Now I'm running 2023, but you're running 2024. And we want to do a ANSI inches DWG. You, the student, will have a E symbol for this particular template that I want you to pick on. All right. You're running 2024, I'm running 2023. And so your symbol here is different. So make sure you pick on the symbol that looks like it's an E, a small case E. You're gonna double click that. Hit create. And now you have a layout sheet. Now, what's the purpose of this? We were going to go down to the shop in the school and try to build this out of some type of material. We need a set of plans. This is where we create a set of plans for not only ourselves, but anybody else that may want to reproduce this part, whether it be out of wood, plastic, metals. And so this is where we're going to annotate the drawing and recall all the dimensions that we created to help build the object in the IPT. So the first thing I want you to do is I want you to right click on ANSI large, right click and hit delete. Next, I want you to do is go to drawing sheet number 1, right click again and hit edit sheet and change that D to an A. Hit click OK. So remember, right click, ANSI large, delete it, right click on sheet 1, edit sheet, change that D size to an A size. We're now going to bring in a title block that is suited for this size layout. So we're going to hit this plus sign in your browser, hit that plus sign next to drawing resources, go down to title blocks, hit that plus sign, and now click on the ANSI A, double click it. And it'll bring that the title block, that size for this paper. We're now going to bring our object onto the screen. And that's our isometric. You're going to go up here to base. And when you click on base, there's our object. It automatically wants to show up. That was the last thing we created. We want to scale it down. So it's at a 1:1. We're going to scale it down to 1:2. We're going to in the view, we're going to type in front, all caps. And we're going to turn on the light bulb. That's so that the words will show. We're going to then click OK. Now, we can actually move this around. There's a little ghosting box around the view. If you left click and hold down the left click and drag, we're going to move it, kind of get it more over, because we're going to put more views here. We're going to talk about this in a later assignment. But for now, this will give you some background when we get to that point. Next thing I want to do is right click on the front scale. I'm gonna right click on that. I want to do an edit text style. Right click, edit text style. And where it says text height, we're gonna pull that tab and we're gonna change it to 0.1. We're gonna make it bold. And then hit save and close. Now we're gonna project the other principal views, our top view, right side view, and then our isometric. To do that, we come up in our ribbon and click on projected. Click on projected, click the front view, left click the front view, move your cursor up, and left click again. Move your cursor for this view, which is gonna be our right side, left click again, and then move your cursor up here to create the isometric, left click again, right click, hit create, and now you have all your views. We're not gonna go to each one of these. We're gonna put the dimensions on it. We're gonna give it a name, and then we're going to get it saved. So let's address the top view first. If you click on this view, click on that little ghosting red box right there, double click it, double left click. And in here in the view identifier, we're gonna all caps top. We're gonna turn on the light bulb and we're gonna click OK. You're gonna left click and move your words above the view. We're gonna double click this view. And the identifier, we're gonna call it R dot side. We're gonna turn on the light bulb. I'm gonna click OK. And then over here, we're gonna do the same thing again. Double click that. We're gonna call this our isometric. We're gonna turn on the light bulb. We're gonna click OK. Next thing we're gonna do is place our dimensions on the object. Now we're not creating any new dimensions. What we're doing is just recalling the dimensions. So when we give this as a layout to somebody to build for us, they'll have the right amount of information to get it created. So to do that, you're gonna come up here in your ribbon, click on annotate it. And we're gonna click on dimensions. And the dimension should exist between the views. And I'll show you what that looks like. I'm gonna click this point. I'm gonna click this point. That's our overall length, which should be 3.5. Zoom in a little bit. I'm gonna click this line. Do not click the green dot. Click the line, pull that dimension up. Then click OK. We need an overall height. I apologize. I'm gonna click that line and pull that dimension out, click OK. Up here, we need to get the overall width. So that'd be clicking this point to this point, pull that out. We need to get this leg right here, or foot, if you want to call it that, which is 1. If you notice, the dimensions graduate from the largest to the back down to the object. From the largest to the smallest, back down to the object. We need this here. Whoops. We need get this right here. We want to make things uniform and nice and neat. So what we might need to do here is I hit escape. I'm gonna get out of that mode. I'm gonna left click on this dimension and drag it out a little bit. I'm gonna left click and drag on this dimension. Just get them spaced out a little bit. Now, some things can be avoided. Typically, you don't put dimensions on the object. Some things can't be avoided. In this particular case, we need this dimension right here. So we'll go here and we'll pull here and pull that dimension up. And then we'll make a little room for it. We hit escape, get out of that mode. Left click on these words and drag the words up. Keep them inside the black border. All right, next thing we want to do is we're going to do a different little option. I want to show this to you. And we are going to do what we call a baseline. Baseline. So you left click on baseline. Your cursor now changes. You want to left click and drag a window up to about this point. Let it release. Right click, hit continue, and pull these dimensions up. I'm gonna do the same thing on this side. Left click. Oops. Oh, I'm sorry. Right click, hit create. Go back to baseline. Left click and drag a window around this edge. Right click, hit continue. Hit create. Now, we don't want to double dimension anything. So what we're going to do is hit escape. We're going to click on this dimension and delete it. And one last thing we're going to do is we're going to go to a text. Click on a text. Click and drag a window inside of the text box. And we're going to change our text height to 2.24. We're going to go bold, call it isometric. Number 1. Click OK. Now we can move this around, hit escape, that gets you out of that mode. Click on this and you can grab these little green nodes here and shrink this around and move the whole thing around. Kind of get nice and uniform. Hit escape. And this is how you complete the layout for isometric number 1. I want to do one more thing here because we want to put all of these into one document, and then we'll submit all of these at one time. So if you go back over to place views and come over here where it says new sheet, left click and it'll add a sheet. So there's 10 of these all together. So 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then they're actually 11. So go ahead and do 11. Now, when you come in, they're already formatted. If you go to sheet number 2, double click sheet number 2, we're on sheet number 2. If you go back to sheet number 1, that's sheet 1. Sheet 2 is formatted. It's already ready to go. Go to File, Save As. You can call it Isometric Layout. Save it into your folder. And then you have it for future use.